Hello, everyone. My name is Hallie Huber, and I am so excited to host the 7th episode of WIT Talk here in the Spark Studio. Today, I will be talking with Miss Kimberly Byrge, CEO of OTC Inc. Kimberly is the winner of the 2023 Woman-Owned Business of the Year, as well as a board member and treasurer of the Women in Cybersecurity North Alabama affiliate. Today, we will discuss Kimberly's career in depth, as well as discussing the influence identity has had on her influential career. Let's get started. Well, Kimberly, we are so excited to have you here for this episode of WIT Talk. How are you?
I am good, and I'm so happy to be here.
Well, we are so happy for you to be here too. So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself before we dive into the topic of identity?
Sure. I think you described me pretty well with winning awards and stuff, which has been a new thing for me personally and for my company. I am the CEO of OTC Incorporated here in Huntsville. We've been around for 25 years next year, next August.
Oh, wow.
So 24 years this year, and we've had an uninterrupted service at the PEO Aviation here on the Arsenal. And I am also an advocate for women, especially in the technical community.
Yeah.
I'm finding that to be a real need, and to discuss things that are difficult to discuss sometimes, but be an advocate and hopefully a mentor.
Yeah, well, that is so awesome to hear about. Well, why don't you tell us a little bit about growing up? Would you have ever imagined that you would be in such an amazing position that you're in today?
Oh my gosh. No, I don't think that when I was young, I would have thought that.
Yeah.
I had a career mostly in music, in theater, went to school for that. Decided pretty quickly that I also have a technical mind as well as a creative mind. And I think that the technical area allows you to play within the guidelines. So if you have rules, you know what the rules are, and then you get to be creative.
Oh, I see.
And so that really, really inspired me to start doing things in the technical arena.
Wow. Well, that is so awesome that you have that duality of creativity and also technicality. So why don't you tell us a little bit about your career journey? I know you mentioned that you started off in the creative fields, but then slowly merged over into technical fields. Tell us about your career journey.
That's true. Well, I think that I've been an entrepreneur for most of my life. I think my father was in the Air Force. He was there for, I don't even know how many years, and then he decided to be an entrepreneur as well. And he wanted to do business with the government still, but create teams that were outside of just one company. So he saw people as important no matter if they were part of your company or not, just the best people for the job. And I really appreciated that. And he had a really creative aspect, too, for developing new ideas and things that would work better in that community. So I had that in my past. I've been a technical writer. I have been just so many different things, but usually in the technical field.
Okay.
Technical writer, and then I moved into web design. Small business needed all the social media, all the press releases, you name it. Did that kind of stuff too. And then at one point, I've worked with my father every once in a while, and I found that, first of all, I love engineers. Engineers are so interesting.
Oh, yeah?
They are. They're quirky, I would say, in a way. Each person has their own quirkiness, I guess I want to say. But I feel like that's what makes them so important in their job. And they're difficult to talk to sometimes, or to receive information from, or writing it down. That's a different species.
Right.
So what I would do is I would come in and see the screens that they were developing, or the website, or the documentation, and I'd come in and say, this needs to change or that needs to change, and help with the writing and all that. So that I would do that on and off.
Yeah.
And then one day my father called and asked if I would come to Huntsville, Alabama and work, contractor.
Oh.
So we started with a small group, and we were working. I worked every 2 weeks and then went home for a week and then came back every 2 weeks until I decided that we needed to be a company.
Yeah.
And when we decided to be a company, my father didn't want to. He wanted to just stay in the convenience of being a contractor. A 1099 is a lot easier, he thought.
Yeah.
And honestly, it is. But he challenged me. He said, if you want to have a business, then you do it.
Oh.
So I went around town, around here, and learned who to meet and who to talk to and how to set up a business and started the whole thing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, that is good, though, that he was able to support you in your dreams. And
Oh, absolutely. We're a family business.
Yeah.
Interestingly, I'm also in a band.
Oh.
And we have always been musically oriented as a family.
Oh.
And then we started the band with my brother and my husband, who's the drummer, and a number of other people. My dad was a guitarist. He started out on a drum set. My sister married a drummer. And then I married a drummer.
Oh, my goodness. So music is just in your blood then.
It is. But I think that our family's strong
Yeah.
in that we know each other creatively. And so we also understand how to work together technically.
Wow.
Which is a really big deal.
Yeah, because a family business, I can understand that would be kind of hard to deal with. So being able to actually understand each other, know the way that each other works really well, that can help prevent a lot of typical setbacks that can occur.
That's true. And when I became CEO 3 years ago, that was a hard-fought battle.
Oh, yeah?
That was difficult.
Mm.
It's just a long, long haul to get to be CEO.
Yeah.
But I'm really glad that I was. But at the same time, that was during COVID, right before COVID.
Ooh.
So everything changed.
Yeah.
And that's when I decided that I needed to change too.
Oh, I see.
Wow. And I think that, and as a family in a business during COVID, my father had already retired years ago. So we'd already been running the company. But I read an article recently that said it's like over 80% of small businesses that are family-oriented, that are family businesses, fail after 2 years if it's being transferred from one person to the next. Wow. So that was really worrisome for me as well.
Yeah.
Just getting started. So I just decided to go out. I decided I wasn't going to be on the computer anymore behind the screen. I was going to go ahead and go out and try to market and do business development, because it used to be that we were all at the arsenal and you hear something that somebody needed done, and you say, oh, I've got a person for that, or I can help that process. But when we were all at home during COVID, we couldn't meet. Nobody knew who we were. You couldn't tell anybody from Adam because no pictures, all that kind of stuff. You're talking to people you don't even know.
Exactly.
Right? And you can't recognize.
Right.
So something needed to change.
Yeah.
And I just decided to go out and try to be the person that I used to be.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, because becoming a CEO, it can cause doubt. Huge doubt, because you're moving into a new position. Anytime you move into a new position, you have that fear, right?
Right.
It's very fear-based.
Yeah.
Am I good enough? Can I do the job? Will people list on me? All that kind of stuff. So I definitely got that.
Yeah.
And I think that the more you find out that you don't know is where imposter syndrome starts, because you're learning.
Right.
And then you learn you need to learn more.
Mm-hmm.
And it opens that box, right? It's wide. And then you think, oh my gosh, I really don't know what I'm doing.
Right. And then it's like, oh my gosh.
It's so scary.
It is.
And now you do know what you're doing.
Right.
You have to remind yourself that you know what you're doing. I mean, you got to this point.
Exactly.
You're going to be okay.
Right.
It's just like public speaking.
Mm-hmm.
What would happen if you don't do it, right? So that I took that approach as well. And I met some people on my way that really helped me.
Yeah.
Really helped me along the way. Yeah.
Well, that's so great, being able to support yourself with people who were able to support you on the way, because I can totally understand how changing into a new position can be really scary in a way of... I was talking to Sonia Bailor yesterday, and I was saying that I think that we oftentimes are the biggest setback or stumbling block
for sure.
to get in the way of actually accomplishing stuff. Our mind can set us back.
That's so true. That's imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
It's like it sets in your head, and then you ruminate.
Oh gosh, yes.
And then you're getting in your own way.
Exactly.
That's how it starts.
Exactly, and it's scary.
It is.
Well, why don't you tell us a little bit about what OTC Incorporated does?
Simplistically,
Okay.
we do system engineering, system integration, program management for the Arsenal.
Oh, I see.
Currently, we work with PEO Aviation,
Okay.
uninterrupted for 25 years, which is really a big deal. It's a real big deal.
Yeah.
And we have just really respected people in our group.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like if you need the right person, most of the time people come to us.
Oh.
Because we will find that right person, or we know that person that knows what they need to do. Specifically, what we do is we integrate and help the management of the communication systems and other systems aboard any aviation aircraft here at the Arsenal.
Oh, I see. Wow, that's super cool.
It's very cool. It's so neat, though, because
Yeah.
if you think about it, okay, music, communications, tech writing, website design, press releases, all that kind of stuff, and now you're in comms for the Army.
Right.
It's the same thing.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what I was actually about to ask you next, of what do you think prepared you for the position that you're now in, especially as like the CEO of OTC Incorporated?
I have been mentored by my father ever since I started working with him.
Wow.
He brought me into rooms. Anytime there was a meeting, a discussion, a process, procedure, interview, whatever, I was there.
Wow.
And so I learned how to be this person
Yeah.
a long time ago. And it's been really, really interesting now trying to be, or to remind people that I have been in the rooms.
Exactly.
And that's what my challenge is now as a CEO, is to remind people that I've been in the room.
Yeah.
I don't work directly on the Arsenal anymore, so it's hard for people to understand that.
Right.
But it can be done.
I see. Well, I love that. That's so cool that you were able to have that opportunity to get that early exposure and experience to help you flourish into the CEO you are today. That's super cool. Well, let's see. What was it like winning the 2023 Woman-Owned Business of the Year? That's such a super cool accomplishment.
It's still amazing to me. I can't believe it still. They have a number of questions that you have to answer about your company, company culture, where you're going to be, how you've been, all the stuff. And then they took everybody's paperwork and turned it into a place in Texas, another Chamber of Commerce. So these people didn't even know anybody.
Wow.
So that was really cool, and I didn't know that. But I had invited my brother, who is the president of my company, his wife, and my husband to the event. And I was taping everything or videoing, because everybody, almost a lot of my friends were there.
Oh.
A lot of my friends, like Pizzelle. Oh, I love Pizzelle.
I have not been there yet.
You have not. You don't even know what you're missing.
Oh my gosh.
It's amazing.
Okay.
But there's just so many, and dentist, dental on Whitesburg, a whole bunch of people. And I was just taping everything so that I could see who won of my friends.
Right.
I didn't have a speech written. Nothing. And then they announced OTC, and it took me a second, and then I threw my phone down. It was still recording.
Right.
It recorded the whole rest of the thing. But it was amazing. It's an amazing event. And the reason why it's so important here in this community is because I can't even tell you, I think it's 120 or more women-owned small businesses here in the town of Madison and Huntsville. I mean,
amazing.
It's huge. So when you're going up against these women, it could be anybody because so many people are good.
Mm-hmm.
And so I like that we get to do it once a year and another person gets to try it.
Right.
Right? Because I think it depends on how you use your award to try to further your business or your career.
Yeah.
Or if you don't really use it, and it may not be necessary.
Right.
But for me, it was.
Yeah.
And it's really, really catapulted me and my company into growing 3 times the size.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's an accomplishment right there.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, speaking of which, what do you think the future of OTC Incorporated will look like?
I'm so excited. Since I'm working with Sonia Bailor Group, I have to make sure that my external appearance and information to my audience is correct and it's right and it's noticeable. But at the same time, I have to have processes and procedures in place internally, because if you get 20 people all of a sudden, you got to hire 20 people.
Right.
You got to have that. How am I going to hire? How am I going to do this? You've got to have that in place.
Mm-hmm.
If somebody calls in sick and says, I can't do the payroll, you got to know how to do the payroll.
Right.
Right? So all these things are so important internally. For me, I'm excited about that because we're working on new policies and procedures. And like I said, I like to talk to everybody at Team OTC because I don't know what they need or what they want until they tell me. So I've adjusted my policies and procedures to make sure it fits the people that are working for and with me. And I'm really excited about that because some people may want to have a subject matter expert role. Mm-hmm. They want to work, they want to study, they want to keep on growing in that career. Yeah. Or they may want to be in management and say take over a team lead or something. And if you know that, then you can help those people grow. And it helps me find new work for them.
Wow.
Because if I know what they want to do next, then I know what to go after.
Right.
So it seems like it's just really exciting for OTC at this time.
Well, I'm so excited for you, and I have full faith that it'll just continue to blossom.
I do too. I really do. I've got good people around me, good people working with me, and really good prime contractors and people that I work with at a higher level.
As well as your amazing sense of identity, too.
My sense of identity, that's right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, my sense of identity also includes being in a band.
Oh,
and we're called
so cool.
Soul Source, SOUL Source. Mm-hmm. And what we like to do is we like to say if a company's having a party or an event, we will say, let's get together. And then if they have a guitar player or a bass player or something that wants to be with us, they practice for the week, and then we're all playing.
I love that.
And so it's a lot of working with other people and getting to know other people in the same type of business.
Oh, that's so cool.
It's a lot of fun. And my brother, who happens to be the president of the company, and my husband, the drummer, who is our FSO and other things, we're all in the band together.
I love that. That's so cute.
It's just so much fun.
Well, I'm so glad that you have that as well.
Me too.
Of being able to, like you say, balance the creative and technical.
Right. Get that outlet.
Exactly. I'm guessing that's a great way to help prevent burnout in a way.
Very much so.
Wow.
And plus, we're working together every single day. We've got to have hard discussions. Mm-hmm. We've got to butt heads sometimes. But then you can go out afterwards and say, hey, let's go practice and go play.
Oh, that's so
and
nice.
That really helps.
Mm-hmm. Well, I love that. Okay. Oh, okay. Next question. So what do you think you have implemented at OTC Incorporated to make a change for the better, not only just preserving the reputation of the company, but reaching for the stars?
That's such a good question. So when I went out and started meeting people, I met Sonia Bailor.
Oh, I see.
I met her. I met Quan Collins from BAH. I met Valerie Cortez from Cortez Realty. And we were all completely different, but we decided to be each other's supporters. And so we would check in on each other every day, make sure that we were doing well. Sometimes we'd do this minute video in the morning, like as you're driving, saying, here's what I'm doing today. Interestingly, one day I said something like, I'm going to the bank to drop off the check. I'm going to make sure this process is finished. I'm going to do this, this, and this. And it was really quiet. And I thought, oh, no. And somebody said, but what are you going to do as CEO? And I thought, oh, this is a group to challenge me and to make me grow.
Wow, lit that fire under you, didn't it?
For sure. And so what I started doing is I had a bigger circle, and it's really difficult to close off some of that circle, but it's important to when you have goals. When you have goals, and you need to surround yourself, well, what I do is I like to surround myself with people who know something better than me. So with our CMMC certification, I brought in Simple Helix for the IT and Great Analytics to help us get through that. They're great companies to work with. I brought in Sonia Bailor for my growth strategist, which we've turned into buddies now. Oh, and she's so much fun, but she's hard work, and we work hard, but we play hard too.
Yeah,
and it's just a lot of fun.
I love that.
But I think that you need to, like I said, surround yourself with people that know what you don't know.
Right.
And then I also joined Vistage, the Vistage group, and that's a C-suite level discussion where every C-suite member there is of a different community. Oh. They can help you with issues by being outsiders.
Right.
But they're not in your business, so it's up to you to decide what to do.
Exactly.
And if there's a solution to that issue you're having, then they assign somebody to help you along the way to make sure you're going to reach that goal.
Wow.
And you decide when that goal is, among other things. So we do a lot of presenters, a lot of speakers. So I've really been into self-help, which I think that if you're going to grow at all, you also need to grow intellectually.
Oh, for sure.
And I've been starting to do that very regularly.
Yeah.
But I think it's really important to create new habits.
Yeah.
And that's going to be difficult with a new setting. And I think we're here today to talk about identity.
Yes.
And it's really the repeated process of being you.
Right.
I think it's like Latin or something, but that's what comes out. So repeated process of becoming you or being you kind of makes me think that, well, it makes me know that my habits that I need to create that are new, I have to do it regularly over time so it becomes a part of my identity.
Right.
And that's really important.
Yeah. Wow. I think that's a great way to put it in the process of becoming you. And I feel like at times we can we think, especially like, say, young teenager or whatever, we think we know ourselves. And then as we start to branch out and hear other perspectives and really actually work on ourselves, then it's like, looking back I really didn't even know who I was then at all. But it's that process, like you said, those growing pains that can be hard, but they're necessary.
Very true, because I think the other part is that you have to let go of some of your identity. The identity that doesn't fit you anymore.
Right, and that can be scary because you might
difficult.
want to cling on to that.
Right, and plus you have it from birth. It's learned. Your identity is learned. So you also have to fight yourself with what you don't want to be, but it's been in your past all along.
Right.
So it's hard. It's questionable.
So you've already mentioned what identity is, but what does it mean to you specifically?
I think that it's the culmination of everything you've been, everything you've become, and everything that you are becoming.
Wow. Yeah, I think that's great. I love that answer. Well, how do you think you were able to securely establish your sense of identity? Because I know that you came from Ohio, you were creative, now getting into technical field, and then moving all the way to Huntsville, and then now as CEO. How are you able to establish that identity that you have now, or work on it along the way?
That's very interesting. Do you think that some people are just born with a strong identity?
I think so.
I feel like I was born with a strong identity. Like I feel like I've known who I've been.
Yeah.
I don't, you know how some people change during school or whatever, and they want to try different personalities and all that.
Mm-hmm. Trying to fit in.
Yeah. And
that
just,
pressure.
Or being different around work than you are at home, or different people you're different around. And I've never been that. I've just been the same person in all events. But I think it's really interesting, too, that I do think we have a work identity that's just a bit different.
Yeah.
But how do I do that, the identity, how to identify as I've moved here? Community. The community here is strong.
Oh.
It's very strong. Now, it's not as easy inside the government when you're working engineering and it's mostly male.
Oh, yeah.
That's just an issue, and we need to change that. And from what I've been listening to on your STEAM podcasts, it's very much being addressed here at a younger age, which I think is really important. And mentorship. Mentorship wasn't really around for me.
Wow.
I didn't have females in tech.
Yeah.
So there wasn't really somebody to say, hey, you need to do this or that or the other.
Right.
But I think that the community helps you. Well, this community has helped.
Yeah.
For sure. We've got the Catalyst Center with Mona Miller. Mona Miller's helped me so much. The Chamber of Commerce with Ashley. Oh, just so many people that are around to help you and support you. And really other women in business.
Oh, I see.
You really can help support each other.
Yeah.
And so I think that helps with identity, because you don't have your friendships anymore from another state. But it's not necessarily that you want to hang out with everybody you're working with either.
Right.
But this community is strong. There's just such a diverse group of people, and they do support each other. I haven't been in a town that does that.
Wow. That's amazing to hear that Huntsville, Alabama is unique in that way of having that sense of community, especially amongst women. And I was wanting to ask you a little bit about this, kind of going off on a tangent, but you mentioned that you do work in a male dominated, or say male presence field. How do you think that you are able to be secure in your identity to be able to go into those situations where it may be more male dominated or heavily male presence?
That is such a difficult thing. It really is a difficult thing. I think you have to prove to everybody you know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And a lot of times when I'm not working directly in that area, I'm not informed enough. So you have to change how information is being exchanged within your company.
Wow.
I also think that the culture of your company
Yeah.
can influence how people will deal with you, because the company is just the people in it.
Right.
That's really all it is. Without all the people, then we don't have a company. So,
Exactly.
So I think having strong people within the group that have the technical answers, where I have the overall ideas for our future and what needs to be changed and what needs to grow and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I think that you have to present yourself as a CEO.
Oh, I see.
Which means dressing the part.
Yeah.
It means talking the part. It means working long hours just to get it right.
Right.
And a lot of communication, I think.
Mm.
I'm starting to realize the more I text or email, that's just stuff
Right.
on paper, stuff on a screen. But if you call somebody and talk, and then you find out, oh, we have things in common, and we kind of like each other.
Yeah.
So I think part of being a CEO is knowing how to do business with people. I'd rather be friends with people. Like, I'd rather put away capabilities briefing for the first meetings and just talk. Like, you can see my briefings on my website. You can see everything there. But how do I know I even want to do work with you? So can we just talk?
Exactly.
So I think that's where we start. And I think that also gives, it leans forward into that CEO task, if you will.
Yeah, I love that. I think that, like you said, the company is the people that make it up. But I was going off in a tangent of that's kind of, I'm taking a class on organizational training and development.
Yes.
And so it talks about how the personalities of individuals are effective in an organization and how relations amongst people are extremely important for an organization's success. And so it sounds like y'all have found a great approach to being able to find people that share the same passions and just awesome people. So that's great.
Well, since we're going off on that tangent,
yeah.
I've been reading some books, and one of them is The Working Geniuses.
Okay.
I have it here because I love it so much. The 6 Types of Working Genius.
Ooh.
And it's by Pat Lencioni.
Ooh.
Anyway, that's another way to identify yourself in the workplace.
Okay.
And actually, I even did it at home. So it's a little question and answer survey type thing that you answer, and then it comes back with 2 of your working geniuses that you love. You could live in. You can swim in it all day long. Mm-hmm. And there's 2 working geniuses that it's not going to kill you to do it. You can do it, but it's not your favorite.
Right.
And there are 2 working geniuses that you hate.
Ooh.
It just doesn't make you happy.
Yeah.
So if you want me, I can describe it.
Yes,
I think
please
it's so
do.
exciting.
No, please do.
So one of them is called wonder, and that's the start of things. The person that says, philosophically, I think that there's a better way to do something. I have this idea or this approach or concept. And that's a person who thinks big and brings something to the table. And then you have the next person it's called invention. And they say, I have several ideas on how to implement that. I have an idea. I have lots of ideas on how to do that.
Wow.
And then you have a person that's discernment that says, okay, well, can you describe or write out the products or services that you're talking about, and let me evaluate what can be the best.
Oh, I see.
So that's another person. And then you have a galvanizing, which is the person in the group that says, come on, guys, we need to do this. Let's get all together, roll up our sleeves, and get this done. We can do it. Right? The cheerleader of the group, right? And then you have enablement, which are people saying, hey, I'll help you get that done, whatever you need. I'd love to do that. Let me help.
Oh, wow.
And then you have tenacity. And tenacity is not my friend.
Oh.
It's finishers, people who make sure all the I's are dotted, the T's are crossed, that every process or every service or anything that you said you were going to do at the end of that contract, that it's done.
Ooh.
Out the door.
Yeah.
So you have these groups. And what I find interesting is I found a couple of companies that are using this. And I met one of the people working in one of these places, and they had their 2 working geniuses on their door.
Oh.
So what you do is you have everybody in the company take that query or whatever, question and answer survey, and then you find out people who do this, or this. So you may be in wonder and discernment, but you're not going to be able to finish anything. So you know to go to Sally because she's the finisher. And she loves to do it and you hate it.
Wow.
Or you go to Jack, who likes to be the cheerleader for the group and gets everybody together. Wow. So now you have a different way of approach of working, and everybody's identity is work related in a way.
Yeah.
Because you find out what makes them happiest in their work,
Right.
and then that team is better.
Mm-hmm.
Because nobody's really doing anything they don't want to do.
Wow. That is so cool.
Isn't that
If you
cool?
don't mind if I ask, what are your two working geniuses that you're able to swim in and float in?
Well, mine is wonder
Mm-hmm.
and discernment.
Oh, I see.
And that's difficult. The wonder part is very philosophical.
Yeah.
I've always been that way. I was in philosophy in
me
college
too.
the whole way. Loved every bit of it. But it's that big picture idea, float above and look and see, what things are like and how to put them together.
Yeah.
But I'm definitely not the the tenacity person.
I don't think I am either.
I don't mind, empath. I'll help you get something done.
Oh, yeah.
Or to galvanize. I think I'm getting there. I'm getting used to that one.
Okay.
But that was my other one that it was not mine.
Really?
Yeah.
And galvanize is which one?
Like the cheerleader.
Oh, I see. See,
The
I feel
person
like I
to
relate
gather
to that
everything.
one. I'm like, come on, let's go.
Yeah, exactly. And then you're
Wow.
happiest because you're doing something that you actually internally just love.
Wow, that is such a smart way to make sense of it all, because I feel like our little human brains love categories. And so
So
being
true.
able to use that to help understand people, because that's something that's so cool, is understanding what makes people tick.
Or who to hire next.
Exactly.
Oh, I don't have that galvanizer. That's who I need on my team.
Yeah.
So it helps hiring too.
Wow. That is such a smart strategy.
Isn't it cool?
I love that.
I do too.
Oh my gosh. Now I'm totally going to geek out about
Yeah.
it after this episode.
Oh, I did. I had my family do it and everything. We're finding out, oh, you don't like to finish things either. Oh, okay. So there's other ways to deal with it, right? You say,
Yeah.
okay, you don't like to do the dishes. I don't like to do the dishes. So let's just do it together and get it over with.
Right.
Or I don't like to do the books or something. Maybe you hire somebody that does the books for you.
Yeah.
Just something, because you're finding out the things that you just hate.
Yeah.
And then you kind of find out how your family works too.
Right. And then find out what other people love, because that's the beauty of humans, is we're not all the exact same.
Exactly.
We don't all have the exact same identity or work identity, and being able to culminate those strengths and weaknesses to balance out is beautiful.
It makes you excited to go to work.
It does.
I think so.
Man,
And
it
it's
sounds
neat.
it makes me feel pumped up just
Yeah.
hearing about it. Well, thank you for sharing that.
Sure, no problem.
That's super cool. I'll try to link the information
yeah.
in the YouTube video
Yeah,
description.
there's the little thing that you can take, the survey and everything. It's all in there.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, and the book's great. It's easy read. It's fun. It's exciting because it's a neat concept.
Yeah. So, what do you think might be barriers in establishing one's, say, personal or work identity?
That's a really good question. And one I've been thinking about too, since I thought, okay, I have the identity, but I do have a work identity. Mm-hmm. It's more mature, more curated, I would say.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes when you grow up in a home or a community that is very educating you on in certain ways or certain things,
Yeah.
and then when you move out of that and you're battling your internal need for the identity that you had,
Mm-hmm.
and knowing that you need to change it. And that's going to be hard because your brain is saying, wait a minute, I've known that all my life. Why do I want to change that now? No, warning.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to take, that's why habits are so important, I think, too, because it's going to be baby steps.
Oh, yeah. Because habit changing can be very hard, but it can be very necessary.
Yes. And in work, I think that's even more difficult.
Really?
I really do. I think because other people have more, let me just say, I am in the men-dominated area.
Yeah.
So men have always been working there.
Mm.
Women are usually secretarial. Of course, they don't use that word anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But you have this general consensus that if you're a girl, you can do certain things.
Right. And then if
Oh,
you're
can
the
you go
man,
schedule
then you're
that
the
for me?
leader or whatever. Yeah.
Can you go schedule that for me? Or can you reply to that? Or
Get me a coffee.
Yeah. That kind of crap. Anyway, so I think in the field that I'm in, it's more difficult to have that identity because there's an identity already established for you.
Ooh.
And it's not your identity.
Exactly.
It's like you a long time ago when you wanted a job, a temporary job, you had to type, right? You go in, you type,
Mm-hmm.
and then they say, well, you're not good enough to be a secretary here. And I'm thinking, I don't want to be a secretary.
Right.
I didn't apply for a secretary, but that's all they had.
Wow.
So it's just an interesting, I hope that things are evolving and changing, and I am seeing that somewhat, but still in a male-dominated area, it's going to be fighting against the established identity.
That's hard. Mm-hmm. When others establish an identity for you, you not only have to deal with the own internal struggle of, well, am I that identity? Am I not? But then also changing their perspective too.
Exactly.
That's
a beast.
Double whammy. Mm-hmm. Wow.
Yeah, it's difficult. But you can see what we're against. Yeah. I mean, I listened to Maya's speech or the podcast that you did, and she was talking very similar type of subject. And she's in industrial engineering. And I was so happy to hear her being leads and in managerial roles already, and that she's already working up the ladder while she's still in school, but still fighting that stigma of that work identity that men think that you are.
Exactly.
And she's fighting it. She's fighting the good fight.
Right. That's so great. I feel like that's something that is kind of changing a little bit within, I think, maybe the Gen Z sort of, or college age, I think Gen Z, yeah, that's what I am in, I think, of wanting to be able to be taken seriously for those roles and keeping on fighting the fight that has already been established by previous amazing professionals.
So true.
And it can be hard, though. It can be so hard.
Very difficult, yes. I think also if you're a parent, then my kids are grown.
Yeah.
I have 2 girls. And I think that when I'm hiring people their age or just a little bit younger, it's not that I don't feel like mothering them at all, but I understand where they're at because I have kids in that age group or whatever, so I understand what they need, or I know that I need to talk with them about what do you need out of this business?
Right.
What do you need out of this job?
Right.
Where do you want to go, and can I help you get there? And I think that if everyone really kind of zoomed in on that, rolled into the fact that these kids aren't kids anymore, and you really do understand where they're at.
Exactly. Wow. And especially with the just craziness of I don't know, like you said, the company started during the COVID pandemic, and understanding that they come from that sort of angle of, okay, the needs of the post-pandemic.
Completely different. And I'm finding that in hiring, that's difficult, especially as a government contractor. As a government contractor, they do, like right now, they do allow for a couple days at your home working and then 3 days in. I think if we had everybody in the building, I think there's only 80% capacity. Wow. So I think there's a reason for that move to be able to work at home. But mostly in that younger generation, they don't want to come in. They don't need to come in. Why do I have to spend 45 minutes? Why do I have to get a shower, get dressed, shampoo, brush my teeth, get on my shoes, get gas, get the car washed and go? Why do I have to do that? I can just come right in, put a dress shirt on and start working, right?
Right. I think we've been so acclimated to that,
Yeah.
especially in that COVID time of being able to just have to shift everything. And
the older generation doesn't understand that.
right.
So you really got a gap.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that, again, when you're hiring that government and they say, I want to work full-time at home, it's not possible.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not possible in this industry
Yeah.
as a government contractor.
It's hard.
But we can get you halfway.
Right.
So if you can deal with that. Yeah.
Right. I mean, it's a great point of being able to do that and be open to that. And I think that's awesome.
And also with the working with the comms and the communications with all the radios and everything, you got to have hands-on experience.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're at work and you can go down to the lab and actually see things, or you can go in the aircraft and take a quick flight and figure out what that does, all those things that give you so much more information than you would if you were sitting at home.
Because I'm a hands-on girl. I need to know.
And it's so
everything.
exciting. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's so exciting. So I think there's got to be a good handshake there.
Right. A good balance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, good handshake.
Yeah, I love that. I like that usage. So, was there ever a moment that you felt like you struggled with finding a sense of identity specifically?
As definitely as my role as a CEO. When I turned into that speed up the dial, you start just doubting yourself. Like we were talking about, your mind gets in the way and you just rethink and ruminate on things instead of projecting forward. So, yes, I struggled a lot with imposter syndrome. I'm sure I've talked to so many people, women in tech, that have the same experience, even with like public speaking or just you name it. There are blocks, roadblocks, and I think that that is when you move up into a different position or move over to a different position. It's still a challenge.
Yeah.
And I think that the way I see it, and I've always seen it, is like a self-projection or self-actualization is what I call it. You imagine yourself, where you're going to be, what you're going to be doing, what you're wearing, what kind of car you're going to drive. Mm-hmm. Anything that makes you motivated.
Yeah.
And you put that in your brain and you actually envision yourself doing it. Mm-hmm. So when you get there, it's not so bad. You've already envisioned what it's like. Right. And you're working toward that goal.
Exactly.
So you have to remind yourself of who you have been, where you are now, and then push yourself forward because you're forgetting how far you've already gotten.
Exactly. That's so important. It makes me think of the concept. I took a business communication class this past semester, and one of the things that we were taught in that class was about that positive vision of, okay, well, what if it does happen to, be right, of that aspect of positive visualization, of visualizing that for a speech, it will go well, or like you said, in the long term of being a CEO, well, this is what I'm going to be wearing, this is what I'll be doing. Mm-hmm. That sort of aspect of visualization can be so powerful.
Sonia, my friend Sonia Bailor, she has a vision board. And initially when I met her, I thought, I don't need that. Right. But now I'm thinking I do need that because it's a vision. You see it every day, what you want to be and where you're going.
Right. It's a good reminder.
Yeah, it almost ensures that you're going to try to get there.
Exactly. Instead of putting it off in your mind somewhere it'll be fine, I'll do it some other day.
Yeah, but it can be like your home life and what kind of animals you want and all this kind of stuff on your vision board, but just the things that'll motivate you to move forward.
Mm-hmm. Because especially with how crazy life is in general, we can get so caught up in the moment, and being able to look forward and have that positive outlook can be so influential in just changing your overall perspective.
Yep.
That's So I love that.
Yep.
So let's dive into some advice questions now.
All right.
So what advice do you have for women who are interested in leadership positions?
Start early. Join a team. Teamwork is so extremely important, and I'm finding that it's important even more so in a daily job. It's not just you doing a job. You're going to have to coordinate with people. You're going to have to work with people you don't want to work with.
Mm-hmm.
But I say, so start early. Join a team. Find your group of people. Find your people, like women in tech.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't know that they were going to be my people, but it just happens. And you can try a whole bunch of different groups and teams and everything until you find out where you're most comfortable at and where you thrive and where you can help and where you can learn and mentor and everything. So I say start early and be a part of a group. And as a leader, you have to think big picture. So you will have to have that view of, hey, I'm up above and looking at all the pieces and parts and what might be missing or what can be improved. So as you move up in a leadership role, finding out what needs to be improved is a real good way of success in leadership as well.
Wow. Those are great pieces of advice. I love it. What advice do you have for individuals who are wanting to better develop their sense of identity?
Oh, read. Or listen to Audible or whatever. But I'm reading the Atomic Habits right now.
Oh, I've
James
heard
Clear.
so much about that.
Oh my
That's
gosh.
really good.
I love it so far.
Okay.
I'm 3/4 of the way through. What James Clear talks about is that since your identity is really your repeated beingness, right? You're repeating yourself, so you have habits. So these habits need to be practiced and put in place, and bad habits need to go away. And each one of those things are going to be very difficult, but baby steps, small changes at a time. So if you have, another thing that I would suggest is have some type of way of documenting what kind of goals that you want, short-term and long-term. And then you can put an action plan together, back it down all the way to a day, each day, what small habit or action that I need to do that day that will improve and get me to my goal.
I see. So
I think writing it down, and for me, I'm a visual person like that. If I write something down, I know where it is on the piece of paper, right? I just remember it. Yeah. So for me, writing down really still helps. Some people, they can do it on the computer, which is great because they have a lot of apps for that. But for me, writing down is still the way to go. And it helps you plan out your future, really, and what your goals are.
Wow. I love that. That was beautiful. And now I may be adding that to my book list.
Oh my gosh, it's good.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah.
I look forward to reading it then. Let's see. This is not necessarily an advice question, but since we've been talking about women in leadership so much, I guess you've already mentioned the importance of it, but why do you think it's important for it to continue that women be in leadership roles specifically?
It is so important. I mean, we talk all the time about women can multitask. We just can naturally.
Yeah.
And so you can handle like 5-6 things going on from each different person and what you need to do and what you need to manage. And then you, as a mother, you find out, this needs to be corrected, or this process, or I need to get that person on time, so I have to back up and plan the whole thing. So I think women have a natural gift, but I think the most important part is that they have empathy, or most women do. And empathy is so important, and I'm finding out that as I grow and as I'm hiring and training younger people, the empathy is really, really important. And I think it could be because of the COVID, where you the COVID. Dun, dun, dun. But I think that, everybody was locked away for some really important times in their lives. So I think women naturally have empathy for people and are pretty natural leaders. Mm-hmm. I think so. Mm-hmm. And I think it's really important because of all those things. And we have a new, fresh eye. Mm-hmm. We haven't been there before.
Right.
So we're looking at things differently. I listened to a speech from the FBI building, one of the ladies that's developing the building.
Yeah.
And she thought of things differently. She's like, wait a minute, you have these grand stairs for all these people to come in and visit, right? And they look gorgeous, but nobody comes here. Turn it around. Make it so that the people coming in, they're coming in the grand entrance. Mm-hmm. They're experiencing their culture.
Exactly.
And it takes a different perspective.
Right.
And I just think that we're still new at leadership, and so we can find different applications and different ways of leading.
Wow. And also just in general being, like you said, that new eye and aspect of it is so important, because if we get so set in our ways, the routine of being able to only see things a certain way, we can miss out on a lot of great opportunities. And so that's great that we have that ability to have that new perspective.
It's so important. Mm-hmm. I remember when I was driving, just side note, I would drive from Ohio to Alabama, when I was working 2 weeks and then home.
Wow.
And I had realized the first time I drove that I hadn't driven by myself in like unbelievable amounts of time.
And then I exhausting.
Well, and so much music to listen to and so many podcasts to listen to, and you can do it all by yourself and you're free. And I was locking myself into a little home, and kids are in bed at night and I'm not going anywhere, And so this was really freeing to know, hey, I can do these things. I have locked myself in a box that I don't need to be in.
Exactly.
And so, again, habits. You're creating a habit, right? I'm going to Alabama. Mm-hmm. Every 3 weeks or whatever, I'm going to Alabama. And it turned out to be fun. Mm-hmm. You can learn things. You can just have a lot of fun that you don't remember that you can have.
Right. Well, I love that. Well, I think that's all the questions that I have for today. If there's anything else you would like to talk about, let me know.
I think we've got it.
Okay.
It was fun talking.
It was so much fun.
Yeah, it's so much more fun than a speech.
Oh, gosh, I know. It's so much more...
It's different.
Interactive.
Yes,
and I love it.
Me too.
Okay, well, good. Well, since no other questions, a huge thank you to you for being here today and for just giving such great advice and for just telling your story. It's very awesome.
Thanks for having me here. I've found that this is my niche, my little thing to do, that if I can help people become better people or get out of imposter syndrome or something, that I'm turning out to be that person. Come and talk to me.
I love that. Well, speaking of which, if people are interested in getting in touch with OTC Inc. or reaching out for any sort of help in imposter syndrome, how can people reach out?
Usually, I'm a LinkedIn girl now.
Oh, wow. Tech savvy.
I'm learning. It's another thing you have to learn as a CEO.
Oh, gosh, I know. The social media.
But I'm on LinkedIn, and we're OTC Inc. on LinkedIn. I'm Kimberly Byrge on LinkedIn. You can find me. Sometimes I like to do podcasts and do speeches in different events, so maybe I need to help it with your event.
Well, awesome. Well, I love that. Well, again, thank you so much for joining us on the podcast today, and thank you all for listening to this 7th episode of WIT Talk featuring Kimberly Byrge and focusing on identity. And stay tuned for our next episode. Bye-bye.